A man who raped and killed a 3-year-old girl has died only 1 month into his 20-year prison sentence. 34-year-old Robert Fisher was sentenced to 20 years to life behind bars for the rape and murder of 3-year-old Josephina Cunningham.
In the heart of Rensselaer, New York, a mother woke up expecting to hear the soft giggles of her 3-year-old daughter. Instead, she was met with silence. A silence so unnatural, so heavy, it sent a wave of dread crashing over her. She called out, her voice breaking with the weight of a fear she couldn't yet name. There was no answer. With each step toward her daughter's room, her hands trembled. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting long streaks across the small bed where Josephina Cunningham should have been curled up, safe, dreaming of things too innocent for this world. But she wasn't there. The blanket was on the floor. The stuffed rabbit she never slept without lay discarded beside it. The door to the adjoining bathroom was ajar, a sliver of darkness pressing against the pale hallway light. And then, she saw her. Lifeless. Still. Too still. The scream that tore through that house was the kind that etches itself into the walls, the kind that no one forgets. It was the sound of a mother realizing that her world had just been ripped apart. That something unspeakable had happened in the night, under her own roof. Within hours, police swarmed the house. The crime scene tape went up. Neighbors gathered outside, whispering, watching, and waiting for answers that would never bring comfort. And in the center of it all lay the body of a child who had barely begun to live. What happened to Josephina Cunningham? Who was responsible for taking her from this world in such a cruel, violent way? Stay with us as we uncover the harrowing truth behind a crime that shook this small town to its core. A story of trust betrayed, a family shattered, and a man whose evil knew no bounds. As investigators delved deeper into the tragic events of July 7, 2023, unsettling details began to emerge. Robert Fisher, a 34-year-old acquaintance of the Cunningham family, had been staying at their residence on 1552 Broadway in Rensselaer. Initially, Fisher was charged with obstructing the investigation after attempting to re-enter the home following the discovery of Josephina's body. The autopsy revealed harrowing evidence. Josephina had suffered blunt force trauma and sexual assault. Toxicology reports indicated the presence of medications not prescribed to her, suggesting she had been drugged. These findings intensified the investigation, casting a glaring spotlight on Fisher. Under mounting evidence, Fisher confessed to his heinous acts. He admitted to drugging Josephina using her mother's medication, sexually assaulting her, and attempting to conceal his crimes by cleaning her with Clorox wipes, actions so severe they caused chemical burns. The community's grief transformed into outrage as the depth of Fisher's betrayal became known. A man once trusted within the household had committed an unthinkable atrocity, shattering the very fabric of trust and safety in Rensselaer. As the legal proceedings advanced, the prosecution detailed Fisher's calculated actions, painting a chilling portrait of a predator who exploited trust to satisfy his depraved desires. The courtroom became a crucible of emotions, with family members and community leaders expressing their sorrow and anger over the loss of such an innocent life. The weight of the evidence and the community's demand for justice set the stage for a pivotal moment in the courtroom, a moment that would determine the course of Fisher's remaining life and attempt to bring some semblance of closure to Josephina's grieving family. In the days following the tragic death of 3-year-old Josephina Josie Cunningham, the city of Rensselaer was enveloped in a profound sense of grief and disbelief. The community, known for its close-knit bonds, struggled to comprehend the loss of such an innocent life. Candlelight vigils were organized, where neighbors gathered to mourn and honor Josie's memory, their faces illuminated by the gentle glow of candles. Tears flowed freely as stories of Josie's joyful spirit were shared, highlighting the deep void her absence had created. Amidst this collective mourning, law enforcement intensified their investigation to bring justice for Josie. The autopsy report revealed harrowing details. Josie had suffered blunt force trauma and sexual assault. These findings not only confirmed the violent nature of her death but also heightened the urgency to identify and apprehend the perpetrator. The community's sorrow began to intertwine with a fervent demand for justice. Attention soon turned to Robert Fisher, a 34-year-old acquaintance of the Cunningham family. Initially perceived as a trusted friend, Fisher's demeanor during the investigation raised suspicions. Inconsistencies in his statements and noticeable signs of nervousness did not go unnoticed by detectives. Neighbors recalled seeing Fisher's car parked outside the Cunningham residence late into the night, and some mentioned hearing unfamiliar noises but dismissed them at the time. These observations, coupled with the forensic evidence, began to paint a troubling picture. The community's shock deepened as these revelations came to light. The image of a trusted friend now painted as a possible perpetrator was almost too much to bear. News outlets covered the story extensively, broadcasting images of tearful vigils and interviews with neighbors who expressed their disbelief and sorrow. One neighbor remarked, "You think you know someone, and then something like this happens. It's heartbreaking." In the aftermath of Josefina Josie Cunningham's tragic death, the Rensselaer community sought justice for the innocent life taken so brutally. The investigation intensified as forensic experts meticulously examined the evidence. DNA analysis confirmed Robert Fisher's involvement, leading to his arrest. Confronted with the mounting evidence, Fisher confessed to his heinous actions. Drugging Josie with her mother's medication, assaulting her, and attempting to conceal his crimes by cleaning her with Clorox wipes, causing chemical burns. The courtroom became a focal point for the community's grief and anger during Fisher's trial. Family members delivered emotional impact statements, sharing their profound pain and yearning for justice. Josie's brother, J. Wyquan Stewart, expressed his anguish, stating, "It's a heinous crime. This case deserves the death penalty." The courtroom atmosphere was heavy with sorrow, reflecting the deep wounds inflicted on the family and community. Despite the overwhelming evidence and emotional testimonies, Fisher was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison as part of a plea agreement. This outcome left the family and community grappling with a sense of incomplete justice, as they struggled to reconcile the severity of the crime with the imposed sentence. The trial's conclusion marked a pivotal moment in the community's journey through grief and healing, underscoring the profound impact of Josie's loss. In the aftermath of Robert Fisher's conviction for the heinous crimes against 3-year-old Josefina Josie Cunningham, the legal system moved to impose a fitting punishment. Fisher was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison, a decision that reflected the gravity of his actions. During sentencing, Judge Deborah Young emphasized the atrocious nature of Fisher's crimes, expressing a fervent hope that he would never be released back into society. Less than 2 months into his sentence, on October 22, 2024, Robert Fisher was found dead at Elmira Correctional Facility. The cause of his death was not publicly disclosed, leaving room for speculation and varied reactions from the community. The news of Fisher's death elicited a range of emotions from the community and Josie's family. J. Wyquan Stewart, Josie's brother, encapsulated a prevalent sentiment by stating, "Justice is served." This development brought a complex mix of closure and unresolved questions to those affected by the tragedy. Law enforcement officials acknowledged the gravity of Fisher's crimes and the profound impact on the community. The resolution of this case, marked by Fisher's death, closed a painful chapter for Rensselaer, yet the memory of Josie Cunningham continues to resonate, reminding all of the enduring need for vigilance and justice. The community's journey through grief and healing underscores the profound impact of such tragedies and the resilience required to move forward. Do you believe justice was truly served in this case? Fisher may no longer walk this earth, but does his death bring true closure? Or does it leave lingering questions about justice and accountability? What measures can communities take to protect their most vulnerable members? How can we prevent tragedies like this from happening again? If this story resonated with you, if you believe awareness is the first step toward justice, then like this video and share it with others. Every voice matters. Subscribe to our channel for more in-depth true crime investigations, stories that must be told, voices that must be heard. And we want to hear from you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on this case. Do you believe justice was served? What would you have done differently?